Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the High Level CEO series. Today, we are going to be with one of my coaches who is Demi. She is a seven-figure mentor, business mentor. So we are going to welcome her in. Here she is. Let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna wave to you. Add, okay, I'm just gonna, it says add as a moderator. I hope this works. Let's see. Hello. Okay, Demi, if you are watching live, try again. Okay, there we go. I was like, what is happening? Beautiful souls. Hello, Sadie. Minerva, say hello.
Hello.
Here we are. Here we are. I was like, what is happening? When I was going to add you in, all the options were to remove you or block you. And I was like, what is that?
I just requested,
really weird.
so I think that's
so I don't know if you pressed
that helped.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Okay, yeah, it did. And then you're there. I was like, okay, phew. So welcome. Hello, everyone who's watching.
Am I at
Demi,
home?
are you at home right now? I'm like
home.
very curious. Yeah. Oh, you are? Okay,
I am
you're
on
going,
Wednesday.
aren't you going to Miami? Wednesday. Okay, I was wondering, I'm like, is she already there and she's going to be in like a hotel or, you know, something
It's
to
a
like be
business,
here.
it's a business trip, which is
Wednesday.
fun. I mean, I think if you had told me like 4 years ago that I'd be flying to Miami and flying to Toronto and flying all these places and doing all these things for my business, I would have told you were crazy. So
it's like, you know, high level, next level. I love it.
I am.
Meeting your COO in person. So hi, Sophie. Hello, Marina. Oh, we got a lot of like amazing people joining. Okay, so let's dive in. This is more of, it's not like an interview where I'm like, what's your favorite book? And like, how did you do this? Like, this is more of a conversation that's like this higher level kind of conversation. But you and I were talking before coming on to here. And, you know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs where it's like they want to get to where you are, right? They want their 7 figures, but there's a lot of steps that are being missed. So I think it would be a beautiful conversation, especially for a lot of the women listening and a lot of people, my audience and yours, to hear like your opinion on what are people skipping? You know, what are the pieces that they really need to start to, you know, dive into to start to scale there. And then I definitely want to dive into where was like the turning point for you? Like, how did you, you know, step into this like 7-figure Demi? But yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, Demi's actually my coach, you know, at the moment. I'm in her mastermind, in the expanded mastermind. So I love having my mentor here as a guest. And I met you, we were at a VIP dinner, so I met Demi there and I just like loved her. I loved her vibe. I feel like we connected really well that night. And yeah, so I was like, I got to be in her world. So that's our story there. But if you want to introduce yourself, and then yeah, we'll dive into the parts that are
amazing. Okay, yes,
people.
and it was so good. I know, like meeting you in person was so amazing, and we just clicked, and it was just fate. It's so good. But yes, for you guys that don't know me.
Oh wait, sorry, I need to interrupt you because I'm just thinking, like the interrupter. I'm like the interviewer who just like interrupts. But I was just thinking though, because you have your in-person event and just like seeing, you know, everyone watching right now, like you don't realize when you buy that ticket to go to a VIP like dinner event thing, you don't realize what's going to happen. And the dinner that you and I went to in Toronto with one of my other mentors, I didn't know we were going to like connect. I didn't know you would be my next mentor. Like, you don't know. And there was a lot of women too at that event who have now like become my clients. So there's so much that can happen when you do, you know, do these in-person things. So Demi has one coming up. So I had to throw that in since we were talking about it. I'm like, if anyone wants to meet Demi or make connections and really like, I almost feel like codes were like, you know, there's like recoding and calibration that
hits
happened.
really different. It hits really different than just behind a Zoom screen. And you can really just like see what people are like. Like, you can really catch somebody's energy, and it's just very different and very eye-opening. So yes, Demi's dinner happening April 7th. You can DM me for details and all the things. But I am Demi. I am a 7-figure business mentor, and I really focus on helping my clients with marketing, launching, sales, offer suite development strategies to help them scale and actually sustain, maintain, and continue to grow. And it's been a journey getting here, but I'm really excited that we're having this conversation today just around like foundations in business and steps that people are skipping, because I've been in this industry for a while and I've seen it change over, you know, the course of even just a few years, right? When I stepped into mentorship back in early of 2020, it was a very, very different space. And I think it's a beautiful thing though, because we have grown so much as an industry where, like, you know, I remember when I stepped in, like 3K months, everybody was talking about 3K months. And that's, everybody was like, if you make 3K months, you've made it. And now it's like $1 million month, $100,000 month. And I'm like, wow, like this is beautiful with how incredible we've grown. But I also think we've lost a few things in regards to the steps that it takes to actually grow something like that along the way. Came into this business and started mentoring in 2020. I was a VA and social media manager for anybody that wants to know beforehand. But when I started my mentorship business, doing literally all of the things. Like, I was building connections with my community. I was doing free master classes every single month. I was showing up on my stories. I was going live every single day. I was doing all the money generating activities. I was taking on clients. I honestly had a few boundaries that were getting quote unquote overstepped. But at that same time, like based on where I was necessary. And I think that people are now almost coming into this industry and they're seeing the coaches talk about, you know, boundaries in a very different way than we were before, and the money and leaky energy and all the things, and it having to quote unquote always feel really good as well. And I feel like we've kind of gotten to this energy where like I'll see a new coach come in, or somebody that's even been doing it for 6 months, a year, and it's like, well, I put out this $10,000 offer and nobody bought in like a second. So like, obviously it's not working. But like, you're not, like, it takes time to build. And I think over the years, people have just gotten really, really impatient with what it takes to actually build this. Like, I tell my clients all the time when they'll say something to me like, oh, well, like, it's not working yet. I'm like, but is it actually not working? To actually just be patient and know that the momentum and everything builds over time. Everything that you're doing is incredible right now and it's working right now, but where you're wanting to go from 0 to 7 figures overnight, and that's just not going to happen. I also think that it's okay if you want to come into this industry and hold yourself to very high standards right from the beginning. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. If you want to charge premium pricing right from the beginning, if you want to like only have certain people DM you about things, if you want to only show up X amount of times a week because it feels good, like that's great. But also don't expect yourself to grow at the same rate as somebody who is coming into this industry and their pricing to reflect on like where they're at, their credibility, what the audience that they've built, who's showing up every single day, who's putting in the work, who's delivering on client experience, who's refining offers, who's building their branding. Like, you're not going to move at that same speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's why it's important. Like, I see you do this with your content, but like also too, it's just like not sugarcoating the journey of what it took to get to where you are now, and like creating content and messaging where it's like, look, you're seeing this 7-figure Demi, but this is how long, this is what it took, this is what I had to do. Because there are like a lot of people who they want to get there and they want to get there very, very fast. So just the transparency,
and I think there's like Jeannie was even saying, there's a little bit of an entitlement to results. Like, people also think that you come in, you invest in a mentor, and you're automatically entitled to get results because you invested. Like, that's one piece of the puzzle, but the work actually starts after you make the investment. You know, like I know a lot of people in their marketing and things that I've seen, like it's like the transformation starts with is in the transaction. And while there's truth to that, absolutely, because it's so expansive and you're making the moves and you're actually showing your community that you believe in what you preach, like that embodiment is priceless, and people can feel that a mile away if you're not embodied in what you are talking about and preaching. But I also think that like that's when the work actually just begins, when you make that investment.
Yeah. And you know what's happened with me? Anytime I make a massive investment, like that month or that week, it's always like boom, like it like skyrockets, and then it almost like levels out. So I think there's some like of that energetics, like you're saying, where it's like you're committed. You're telling, you know, universe, whatever you believe in yourself, I trust this. And then something energetically happens where then it's like you have one. I always have like one of my highest months. Mm-hmm. And then after that, it's like, okay, well now we have to evolve into where we want to go. And this does take work. I want to speak a little bit about, because I noticed this too, we're going to bring up a topic that I've noticed, is people throwing in the towel or blaming the investment or the mentor if it's not
I mean, like I've seen clients go through that. I myself have experienced that in the past where, you know, the projection of I'm not making enough, so it's got to be the coach's fault or whatever that might be, right? I've seen it where I also think that people need to be really aware of investments. I think that that's a big piece. Like if you're making an investment and you're coming in with the energy of like, this has to work, this is like my saving grace, and you're like coming in with that energy, that's not going to be healthy for the client or the mentor. And I've actually had conversations with clients in the past where it's like, I'm not available to project your lack of financial. Because I've even had, you know, I've seen clients or people that will invest, like go pay in full to this coach or pay in full to this coach, and then make another investment over here, and then they're pressed or stressed about money because they're searching for the next best thing and they're not doing the actual work needed or implementing what they've learned from the first investment. They're just constantly in this cycle of what's new, what's next. I have to find the secret magic pill, when the secret magic pill is literally doing the work.
Yeah, you're bringing me back to about a year and a half ago. I feel like when I was investing, I was in that mindset where it was like, this is like the magic ticket. You know, like I'm about to do this. This is crazy. I'm going to invest the 12K in like a 4-week mentorship. And then it was like, you know, it wasn't the magic pill. There was a lot of evolution. There's a lot that came from it. But what I ended up realizing from those investments from that space is like, it actually comes down to me. You know, the results comes down to me. The trust, like that was the biggest thing, was like, do I trust myself enough? And it's like the investing had nothing really to do with like, I need X results in X amount of time. It was more of like the evidence of like, I trust myself. Like I trust that this is going to happen at some point. Don't expect it to happen in the few months, in the 6 months, in the 1 year together. But it's more of like, well, one, obviously I want to learn from that leader and be, you know, with them like we are. But it's kind of like letting go of those expectations of this is the results I have to have. And then just knowing that this is more of me, like believing in me and trusting that this is going to happen.
Agree. And I think that that's where a lot of people get caught up, and that's where they lose their heart along the way too, is like putting expectations and all this pressure on themselves. And I think sometimes too, we can get caught up in the online space and the marketing. And I think it's very easy to do so and compare yourself and all of that. I think for me, at the end of the day, like when I stopped placing expectations on myself, that was when I started to see better results, honestly. Like I would go into a launch and be like, well, I really, my expectation is that 10 people sign up. Didn't sign up, I'd be like, well, do I suck? What's wrong with my offer? What's this? And I'm like, oh, but that's not the energy you play in. That's not it. So for me, my perspective had to really shift to be like, why am I doing this? What is my long-term vision here? And releasing those expectations and knowing and trusting that like everybody is on their own journey, and I can only control what I can control. I can't control the actions of others. I can only control how I choose to look at things, how I choose to move, and how I choose to lead, even if others are quote unquote not doing the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I
And
can
then
see her there.
I think it's is it Geneva? Yeah, she's saying she likes to invest because she values the mentor, right? So this is like, I just did a post about this the other day, actually, whereas around like, you can have different opinions. You and I were talking about this before I did the post, where it's like, you can have different values or different opinions and still a different type of way that you do business and still be expanded by that leader because they are successful and they have this passion, or you just like love their energy, but then have like different viewpoints. So I love that she said she invests because the value. And then I want to learn from them. And this is like the discernment too when you're investing. I know for me, like when I invested in you, there was a reason why. Like I was like, okay, here's my business. This is where I really want to like strengthen my skills in, master the things. Demi, hers, your marketing, your client attraction. So now I want to be in the energy and be led by someone who this is their forte. So it's like, also like, are you just investing because you're like, wow, they make a lot of money? Or, do you love their energy? Is it something that they're like incredible at that that you're going to expand from as well and like learn
Absolutely.
some
I
new
think,
skills for your
obviously
business?
money is not the only reason you should invest in somebody at all. I think it's really cool too, like what you were saying is you don't have to necessarily agree with everything your mentor says. And I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I have clients that have completely different business models than I do. Like I was actually on a call with a client last week.
Yeah.
I know you do this in your business. I absolutely hate that. I'm never going to do that. So like, this is what I want to do instead. And I'm like, you go girl. You know what you want. I'm here to support you on that. Right. You don't have to, I don't expect my clients to come in. I'm not about creating carbon copies of me. That's not my job. My job is to coach and mentor women on building self-confidence and trust and excitement in what they want to create. And my life looks very different than a lot of my clients. Right. Some of my clients love to travel the world. We have to build them a business and a strategy that allows for that. Some of my clients are like me and they live at home and they work in their office not like all the time and they want to work and that's great. Some clients only want to work a couple days. I mean, I think everybody just has different needs and a different life and a different journey. So not everybody's business model can be the same. And so I think also a really good tell for if you're a great coach or hiring a great coach is look at their clients. Like, do they have clients with different business models? Do they have clients from all walks of life? Do they have clients that are moms, that are not moms, that are, like just all different? Because I think that speaks volumes to how somebody can mentor and support in all different areas and in different ways to build something that is for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's a great reminder because I think a lot of people, and it is good to hire a mentor or coach who is very similar to you for sure, but also there can be ones who open your eyes to like some new things. Even for you, the evergreen, you have a lot of the evergreen and it's like, these are things that I want to start to integrate that I haven't before. So it's like, now I'm going to be in your energy and learn from you and maybe shift my model a little bit too and try some new things out. Okay, so let's dive into, because we have about, let's say 10 minutes. I want to dive into the energy of seven figure Demi. So if you look back to when you first started your business, when you're scaling up to your like 10K, 20K, 50K months, and then now seven figure Demi, what do you think is like the biggest thing? And I know it's going to be probably a lot of the becoming of Demi. So yeah, what would be like some of the shifts? Who did you have to become? And maybe even some moves
of shifting
too,
my beliefs.
It
was a lot of like, I had a lot of money beliefs as well that I had to really shift. I grew up always being told, save your pennies for a rainy day, save. Don't buy things you don't need. And so I think when I got into this space, I was somebody when I started my business who was like, how many free things can I download and how many free things can I look at? And I was consuming so much. And, I also grew up with that notion of, don't trust people on the internet. Like I remember my mom, being so afraid even to put her credit card details in and buy something online. It's like, oh my God, somebody's gonna have your credit card information. This is not safe. Like, and so when I first got into this space, like, and I was seeing these women that were making $100,000 months and all this money. I remember being on a walk with Miller and Jake and saying like, that must be a scam. like, there's no way that these women are making all this money and this is this thing. And I remember Jake, even in the beginning, you know, before I started really getting into it, was like, yeah, don't be giving your money to anybody online. And then I remember just like crying at my kitchen table and watching how everybody else was having a $10,000 month and a $20,000, and I was just struggling. I was struggling, and I cried, and I was like, I just know that I can do this, but I don't know where I'm going wrong. And if this person has the answers, I need to know what the answers are. And at the time, like, you know, I was on a very strict budget. I was not making a lot in my corporate 9 to 5. It's one of the reasons I started my business, so I could literally pay my car insurance every month. You know, my story is like, I started my business to make an extra $200 a month. That's it. And it just turned into this thing. But when I invested that first 2.5, whatever it was, K, that was big. That was big. But what I learned from that, like, I came out of an investment, like, with solid foundations, and I started making money, and I actually started making more than I was in my 9 to 5. And I was like, this is insanity. This is amazing. And so I really had to shift a lot of my beliefs around money and investing. That was number one. Like, that had to shift. And now, like, I look at me, God, like, scared Demi in the beginning, it did go ahead and invest that 2.5K, because now Demi is investing $50,000 in full to mentors, and it's just like, I would have never been here if I didn't start to shift that belief. But yeah, I think a lot of it too is just like about trusting yourself. Trusting yourself. It's about like looking at who do you want to become in your mind, and then taking the daily actions to actually make that happen. There's a lot of people, and like even myself personally, that I would say I want things. It's like, I would say that I want things, but I wouldn't make any changes to go and get them. So when I started actually aligning my actions with where I wanted to go, that's when everything started changing.
Yeah. Was there anything even strategically though that changed? I mean, there's probably a million, but yeah, so it's the trusting, and then the money mindset around it, the aligning where you want, like you and I have these conversations all the time where it's like, there's so many women, men online who they want the thing, but then their actions are not matching up with where they want to go. And is there anything like, you would say, this is more of the strategic
piece is going to be like focusing on your foundations. Like when I look at my offers, when I look at my marketing, when I look at my sales and how I used to do, I used to be somebody that was on sales calls all the time, and now I don't do them anymore. I think there was just a lot in like, and this is the thing I think that people don't find sexy to talk about, because it's building and it's focusing on those foundations and then refining them time and time again. And I always say, like, I don't give a shit what level you're at in business. You're always going to come home to the foundations of what you've built. You're always going to come back to that. So in regards to the strategy, like, it was really looking at, what does my audience need from me? What is my skill set and expertise, and how do I want to position myself online? It was really about branding. That was a big thing for me ever since the beginning. And then it was about building community. Community will be the biggest piece, and I think that we're going to see an even bigger shift in this moving forward in the online industry, where if you have to be about the people first. You have to be about the people first. And so that's always kind of been number one for me, even in the beginning of my business. And then as I've scaled, I just had to create and look at different ways to refine my boundaries, my leadership, my offers, so that I can still keep client experience front of mind, but I also still have space for myself to be able to grow and to be able to continue my own learning and knowledge and things like that. I think a lot of boundaries shifted. My ideal client shifted. There was a lot that had to change in order for me to get to where I am now. But it's honestly a buildup of all of those things and getting there and continuing to refine them. You're never above the basics. So you always keep going back and auditing where you're at in with the foundations.
When you were talking about the community, when I had met you that night at the VIP dinner, and I had told you this, I'm like, one thing that really stood out about you was I think it was when like we were at that like after club, we were like sitting down, do you remember, in the bar that was like attached to the hotel? and we are having a conversation about like, you know, online business, da da da. And you said something like, just my community really matters. Like knowing my women really matters. And I would rather have less women and make less money so that I actually really know them and I can deeply support them. And as soon as you said that, I was just like, oh, yes. Like it just felt really good for me. And to know that that was a core value for you. Now I'm your client. So, I mean, it was just like that to me is a core value for me as well. So like it was aligned, and yeah, I love that. So energetically too, I was going to ask you, like, so what would be like one massive shift you think for, you know, people watching? And I think you already answered that, which was like, right now the energy shift is really bringing it back to those foundational pieces. You know, if you're like someone who's like, I want to get there, or maybe you are feeling a little stuck in your business, bring it back to those foundational pieces that you were talking about. But right now you're feeling and witnessing, you've been in this industry for a little while, and I'm feeling it too, where's the shift around like bringing it back to home, like to your clients, like why are you here, and really, you know, validating them and creating this community and really caring about your people as well. So is there a few things before we hop off where, you know, people are like, oh, that's great, like connection and community. Is there a few like things they could take away where they could start integrating today, where they could start to show or really actually
I think a big part is learning how to also be like vulnerable and share your life. Like I think a lot of people are all about business and strategy and sell all the time, and one thing that I always incorporate, and this is not necessarily like, you know, give your people something to actually connect with you on. You know, I'll show my dog, or I'll share my like personal thoughts and what I'm going through sometimes. And I think that that makes a really big difference in making people feel close to you, right? It doesn't have to be like, go DM 100 people every single day. Like it does not have to be that, but you get to actually create opportunities within your content, within your stories, with what you're sharing, for people to just feel something. And I think that that like sharing your heart a lot more, and not thinking that, oh, if I share this thing, like it's going to make me feel like be like less of an authority. I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
They want to be seen as the authority and like the leader. But I think one thing that I've learned that you can take away from this is the more leadership that you step into, the more vulnerable you're going to notice you become. And the like, I truly believe that leaders are the people that are showing the behind the scenes, the transparency, the real like raw like moments. I think that that goes so much farther. And if you can intertwine that into your content and your stories as you sell, and as you talk about your offers, and as you talk about your journey, you're gonna build such a connection with your community that is undeniable, and they're gonna want to buy from you.
So good. Well, thank you. I love that. I love that. Anyone have any questions before we hop off? Now is your chance to ask Demi anything. Get some coaching in. While we wait to see, because sometimes it comes up like it's delayed. Can you tell everyone about what's happening in your world?
All the things. Okay, so right now it is my birthday month. My birthday is March 20th, which is super exciting. I will be 28 this year, and so I am doing like a full month of birthday madness, which is super exciting. So right now we are starting off with a masterclass that is $28 to learn how to sell on your stories. You can come to my DMs, or actually in my story, there's the link is there for you to sign up for literally $28, and it's about.
And I'm going to say, I'm going to be that intro because like this needs to be said for people watching. If you have not taken one of Demi's trainings, like the first time I took one of your trainings, there was like a free one. Well, no, I think I just jumped into your world. Who are we kidding? I was just like, I'm going into your mastermind. And then I went and watched some of your trainings. But anyway, I was like, they're so good. There's so much in them, and very organized, and you go really deep, and it's like the things you actually need to build a business. Like you're like, how do I describe it? It's just like you're just very descriptive, and they're potent. So I'm just saying, if you haven't done a training like this $28 one, like you're gonna do it, and then you're gonna be like, what?
I'm excited.
What? This was
yeah,
$28.
I don't like to do stuff for surface level. Like it's just not me. I just want to give you. I'm not like, even if the excuse me, even if that meant the masterclass didn't go for like the full 60 minutes. Like I'm okay with that, because you walk away with the actual steps to be able to go and implement. That's what I care about. I'm not going to fill your days with fluff. We're busy CEOs. Like, you need the strategies to go implement, to go get the results, to go and then come back for more. So I think there's that piece of it. So we have the $28 offer. I have one spot right now that I did for private mentorship for 4 months on for 12.8K, which is bananas. For one person only though. Like, this is a one-time limited offer because I'm only turning 28 months, and normally 3 months with me is 22,000. So structure for this, but it's for that one person only. And then I do have a bunch of different things in my offer vault that you guys, if whatever you're needing, business foundation wise, content, sales, marketing, offer suite development, like whatever you need, I literally have. So come on over, and my DMs are also always open as well if you have questions about what's going to be the best offer for you.
Okay, well, I think this is the perfect segue for the couple questions where you're like, my DMs are always open, because there's, you know, a couple questions about the sales calls.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never done a sales call. So, I mean, and you used to, but now you don't. So if you can speak to that with, I mean, I've never done them, and yet I've been able to scale, you know, to 6 figures in coaching.
Yes. Like, I used to do them in the earlier stages of my business because I wanted to, number one, make sure that it was a great fit. I also was in the stage of building credibility and trust, and it just fit for me at that moment of time. Now, did I do a sales call for every single client that I've ever signed? Absolutely not. But the other thing, before I got on a sales call, they had to fill out an application. They had to know the pricing. They had to be pre-qualified, because I no offense, but like, I'm not going to waste my time if you're not coming in to be ready to sign up, or that I know you're even going to be a great fit. So there's a process there. I don't do sales calls anymore. I have to have reserved time for my paying clients. But I am more than happy to go back and forth with voice memos in the DMs, and you get the same. It's literally the exact same thing, in my opinion. And again, like, I value people's time, and I value my time, and I value how people want to lead in their business as well. And I think that just going back in the DMs, I'm giving you all the information you really need anyways on my stories and my content, on my sales pages. If you're somebody who's self-led, you can go read about everything that I have and come in and be like, hey, I read up on this. I feel good about this. Here's where I'm at. Do you think it's a great fit for me? Boom, boom, boom. Right? Like, there shouldn't be this back and forth, because I've actually done the work to allow you to be self-led, to go out and look at what I have and come back and know also if the price point aligns.
Yeah. I also think too with this, it's like, what feels good for you. Like, there's a couple women in our mastermind right now who, like, they love sales calls, and they like close like crazy on them, and just like really works for them. They enjoy it. So yeah, like, if you're, I think it was like Dave or David, if it's working for you and you enjoy them, but if you're feeling like it's, you know, depleting your energy and they're kind of like pointless and all of that. So I think this comes down to personal preference.
I think to each their own. And I also think it can be case by case scenario. Like, I've had women that are going to come in, and if you're going to like sign up for 6 months, let's say a private mentorship with me, that is a very, like, it's a high investment, right? Obviously the return on investment is insane, but it is a big investment. If you're coming in and we have a chat and you're like, I'm 99.9% in, but like, I just need to have like a 10-minute little chat with you or something, I'm not going to be like, no, like, that's not the energy that I operate at all. I'm not going to be like, absolutely not. Like, it's also case by case scenario. Like, I have some women that come in and are like, yeah, painful, let's go. I don't even need, I already did my, you know, self questions. I know what I want. We're good. Or I've been following you for so long. Like, it's not even, I don't even have any questions. But then I also have people that come in and are like, I don't really have any questions, but I just want to catch the vibe, make sure we're a good fit, and go from there. And I think that that's totally fine too. But yeah, to each their own, and you get to judge it and use your intuition as well if you want to have a sales call with somebody or not.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Demi, for coming. It's 1:34, so I love it when the conversations are so juicy. I feel like we could like keep talking about this. So everyone, if you are not following Demi, please go over, check out her birthday offers, and thank you for being on my live. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me. Bye, you guys.
And have a good day. Bye, Demi.